Om Shri Swami Narayana Namo Namaha, Shri Hari Krishna Maharajaya Namo Namaha, Shri Ghansham Maharajaya Namo Namaha, Shri Sadguru Bhyo Namaha. Welcome to SwaminarayanSpirituality.com. This is Sachin Karnik, and welcome to all the related podcasts and YouTube channels that are connected with these recordings. I want to offer my prostrations to Bhagwan Swaminarayan and to all the sages, all the incarnations of God, and to take the dust of from the holy feet of all the great sages, placing on the forehead, asking for their blessings and compassion. With that, we're continuing from the last recording regarding the great and very interesting connection between the teachings of Bhagwan Swaminarayan Shriji Maharaj in Vachanamrut in Garada Pratham number 1 regarding the question of Maya and his answer on meditation and dhyan, and its connection to many other acharyas in scriptures like the sadhan chatushtay, the fourfold qualifications, and many other related ideas and the qualities needed to become firmly established in the unbroken communion with Bhagwan. This word communion is a beautiful word that is used quite often in Christianity. It is a type of oneness in great devotion. It doesn't mean that the devotee becomes God, meaning, please remember I'm using the word God here as a Western word. In Vachanamrut, the word is Bhagavan or Paramatma, Parameshwar, Aksharatit, that Tattva, that Prabhu, that Shri Hari, that is beyond Akshara Brahma, Purna Purushottam Narayan, Parabrahma, beyond Akshara Brahma. That is what we are calling God or Bhagavan as per Vachanamrut. So, there are so many beautiful foundational ideas in getting actually established in dhyan. Dhyan meaning unbroken meditative contemplation, connection, absorption, linkage. That is a state of dhyan. The purpose of making these talks and recordings is to show the extraordinary depth of Vachanamrut and to encourage all, especially the speaker, that's me, to encourage myself to move into that state as per the will of God, and to keep the lively contemplative power alive in our minds. The ability to contemplate on these ideas comes by the grace of God. That is necessary. Contemplation is an intermediate step into the actual establishment of the state of unbroken connection. That unbroken connection is called akhanda vritti or akhanda vritti. Akhanda vritti. It is unbroken connection. But to reach that unbroken connection, the state of dhyan is an intermediary state. Dhyan is very close to akhanda vritti. Dhyan as a sadhana we can do, and then we get slowly established in it. And eventually, once we are established without breakage, where the dhyan doesn't break, the meditative absorption, contemplation, connection doesn't break at all due to Maya, then that is akhanda vritti. And in akhanda vritti, what do we have? We have the continuous presence of Bhagwan. In Vachanamrut, it is written this way, that akhanda alaukik panu raha kare. Unbroken, alaukik meaning transcendental anubhav, transcendental realization of that which is beyond is available here in this world of Prakriti and Maya. That is perceived here also. There's lokik and alaukik. Lokik means within the field of the three gunas of Maya, within the field of our senses. And that which is beyond our senses, that which is transcendental. Those tattvas that are transcendental, they become revealed. They reveal themselves by the grace of Bhagavan, by the grace, by krupa. Revelation occurs at different times in different ways. But the bhakta is within the three avasthas, no doubt, but is also beyond the three avasthas. Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti, these avasthas are there, but one is not stuck inside any of them. One is very close, as one gets established in Dhyan, to the realization of the Atma. The Atmik Anubhav, that I am the Atma, that realization of what we really are, that opens through the doorway of meditative absorption in the Murti. Shriji Maharaj himself has stated that, in Gujarati he stated in Vachanamrut, Jetli Ishtadevne Vishe Nishta che, etlo જ Atma Anatmano Vivek થાય છે. It means the amount of Nishta, the strength of Nishta, not just amount, but the strength of intense faith in one's Ishtadevata. It is only to that extent that the separation between the Atma and the Anatma can happen. This discussion of Atma and Anatma is what the entire Advaita Vedanta tradition is about. Maharaj has completely accepted that. Many places. I mean, he's used that as a foundational state into the realization of Paramatma, Bhagwan. So that viveka between Atma and Anatma, Satya and Asatya, Nitya and Anitya, all of that viveka is possible to awaken inside through the deliberate, intentional activity of meditative absorption in Bhagavan. That meditative absorption, which is what in Gujarati we say rasbaspanu. It's a fantastic word in Gujarati, rasbas. Rasbas means you're within each other. The distance between the bhakta and Bhagavan has closed. That is what we want. We don't want that distance. We want the intense oneness. That distance is where all the trouble begins. So we don't want any distance. We want the oneness. Yes, of course, there is a upasana and there is a upasak, upasya and upasana. That always remains. Even in the state of meditative absorption by grace, Bhagavan can keep the mukta, the liberated being, within the murti. There is that theory also in certain branches of Swaminarayan Sampradaya. Murti ni andar rehnara mukto. And murti ne akhand jonara mukto. I mean, these distinctions are there in different organizations and paramparas. It's quite fascinating. In Shikshapatri, Maharaj himself has stated about Radha and Krishna. Shri Radhaji is sometimes on the left side of Sri Krishna, sometimes she is absorbed out of intense love. She's absorbed, and Krishna, Bhagavan, shall be known as one, meaning that is oneness. It doesn't mean that Radhika ji has become Sri Krishna, but you cannot tell the difference between them at that point. So it's a type of Advaita, but it's not the type of Advaita that Shankaracharya ji is talking about. It is Advaita out of extraordinary love, asadharan prem, and in that the bhakta is lost in God. That's the idea. Is it possible to be in such a state while living in the physical body? Yes, it is possible. The kriya continues, the activity of the physical body continues, mind continues, but it is done only as seva, and God has taken over the body. So Indriya Antakaran Purushottam Roop thai jai. This is the idea in the Vachanamrut. That they become Purushottam Roop, they become Parabrahma Roop, meaning that Ishtadevata, Bhagavan, has taken over the mind, the body, everything. There's no ahankar left. There's no me that is present with its own individualized vasanas and desires and wanting to enjoy the world apart from the enjoyment of God. And this is the basic division, the distinction between the highest category of devotees, bhaktas, versus mumukshus or other sadhakas. There's still the desire for something other than Paramatma, some experience other than the rasa of the murti of God. That rasa is so amazing that the highest level sages in all traditions, Vaishnava traditions, Shaiva traditions, Shakta traditions, in any tradition, in any upasana of God, in any which way, when the bhakta becomes a saintly bhakta, and that saintly bhakta, who is a great sage, then his unbroken communion with Bhagavan, there is no individualized vasana, individualized desire left for to enjoy something other than God. It's always in connection with Bhagavan. There's not a single point in the 24-hour cycle or the circadian rhythm cycle that there's a disconnection. That is the sthiti. That is a state of realization. We want that, right? But the qualifications that are needed for that, that is the fourfold qualifications that is discussed in Vedanta. And those qualifications are needed. They are absolutely needed, because without that, we'll not be able to be fixated in unbroken meditative absorption in God, in Bhagavan, in higher consciousness, which is not going to happen. So Vivek, Vairagya, Shat Sampatti, and Mumukshutvam. These are absolutely essential, and there is a level of them. It's very difficult to develop them to begin with, but it can be developed. If we really want Paramatma, I mean, there's a hard way and there's a straightforward way. The hard way is to try to develop these qualifications and then to meditate on God. And the straightforward way is to just jump into the meditation and don't let go of the Paramatma under any situation. Automatically, all these four will come. They will follow along automatically. But then the key is not to move away from Bhagavan under any circumstance, come what may. That is a back door, so you can always use that back door. We can always use that back door if we don't want to try to develop all these things separately or even as a foundation. Just jump inside there and learn to swim. You'll learn everything in that. God and Guru will guide us all the way through, because if we hold on to the words of Maharaj, Bhagwan ni murti nu dhyan, just start doing that and stay in that again. Try it again and again and again and again. Garada Pratham 5, which we will cover later on. Dhyan na agraho. So there's a agraho, there's a Vachanamrut. It's only one line long, but it also is the essence of the entire Vachanamrut. And Maharaj is saying that one does not let go of the dhyan of the murti. Radhika says Sri Krishna Bhagwan nu dhyan karu with Sri Radhika ji. While she's present, do dhyan. That has to do with Shakti, actually. We'll talk more about that later on, what that's all about. And then some of the commentary on that also. But the point there is the agra. Maharaj is saying that that when a bhakta keeps that insistence that come what may, not let go of the murti. Don't get disheartened because the obstacles come, because of vasanas come. Ignore them and move on. Ignore them and move on. Don't try to fight with them. You'll not win that battle to fight with vasanas and agnyan. You cannot fight with darkness to remove the darkness. You have to connect with light. Stay with the light, darkness goes away. But if we turn away from the light, darkness comes, and then we try to fight with the darkness. That doesn't produce light. Right? So it's quite simple, easy to understand that point. That the darkness is inside the mind. Gunatitanand Swami said that Prakriti nu Chato is Shushupti Avastha. He talked about the Shushupti Avastha. That is a darkness of the engulfment in Anadi Mahamaya, of the Jivatma. That is the Shushupti Avastha. You see, so to break out of that Shushupti Avastha, nobody has any way to do that. There's no sadhana for that. That is only by grace. By Krupa, Bhagavan himself breaks the Shushupti Avastha for the devotee. And the Sushupti Avastha is no longer Sushupti Avastha. It is Brahma Avastha. It is Brahma Nirvanam. So when we rest, when the true yogi rests at nighttime, yogi, bhakta, that kind of high-level devotee, there's no Sushupti Avastha. That Sushupti Avastha is Brahma Nirvanam. That Sushupti Avastha is Gunatit Avastha. The Sakshi that is in the Sushupti Avastha is revealed. That Sakshi is the witnessing consciousness, and that is revealed. That is the Brahman. That's amazing, right? So, and in that Brahman is Parabrahman. So, Brahma, Parabrahma, Sakshatkar is possible. And then, of course, by the will of the divine, by the will of Bhagavan, the Atma is brought back into the Jagrat Avastha. But even though the devotee is brought back into the Jagrat Avastha, there is no entanglement in the avastha, and continuous vritti and dhyan remain as seva, like Naradji and others. Maharaj has talked about that as long as they're in samadhi, if somebody goes into nirvikalpa samadhi, then there's no avastha, jagra, swapna, sushupti. But once you come out of it, then akhand bhajan, kirtan, dhyan, mahima, seva, it goes on without break for the benefit of the world by the will of God. So then, so otherwise, if a person leaves the body, then that is nirvikalpa samadhi. And they permanently just, leave the body and one is gone into the dham. Then that is, one has obtained a spiritual body by the grace of Bhagavan, Brahmamaya Sharir. We're going to talk about that later on. And then then they don't come back here. The world is not even inside the mind of that individual, or it's not even in the purview of the mukta. The mukta is only wanting to see God and it only sees Bhagavan and lives in the dham, whether it is Golok Dham, Vaikuntha Dham, Kailas Dham, or Akshar Dham, or Shwet Dweep, or any other divine abode that names may not be known, certainly. There's probably millions of dham that no name is even known for that. Right? Dham means the abode of God, but Akshar Dham means that abode which has no boundary. That is Akshara Brahma. Adho Urdhva Pramane Rahit, as it is said in Gujarati. There's no boundary there. 10 to infinity in all directions. And at the center of that dham is the murti of Bhagwan Purushottam Narayan. And that is the Mool Swarup of God. That is the original Swarup, the beginningless Anadi Swarup of Paramatma. Paramatma himself or itself. And that is what Maharaj is talking about when he talks about dhyan. He's talking about that tattva, beyond Akshara Brahma, Aksharatit. Right? So having said that, we have two ways to go. We can either jump right into dhyan and bhajan and bhakti and just don't let go. Come what may, don't let go under any circumstances. Everything will begin to reset and change and transform automatically if we just stay with the murti and with the great gurus. So automatically bhajan, kirtan, listening to spiritual discourses, all that is done as a support to connect with murti. And then in that connection process, everything can happen. Chakras can open. They will open at some point. Garada Pratham 49. I'm going to talk about that in detail, about these intermediate stages also. The different abodes of God can be seen. Vaikuntha, Golok, etc. can be seen. But Maharaj is saying, until you see the murti, that is all bahya drishti. It is still not antardrishti. Real antardrishti is only seeing that murti itself. Everything else is still an intermediate stage. It is still externalized. But that state that is not externalized is that total oneness where the bhakta doesn't want anything except the Ishtadevata. It has no physical vasanas, has no psychological torment of any kind. There's no doshas, there's no worry, there's no tension, there's no fear, there's no agitation. The fourfold qualifications are just brimming naturally. Vairagya is there, Shat Sampatti is there, everything is there. All 64 qualities, all of it is just there at one time. And it comes one time when we leave Deha Abhiman. Our Ahankar, Deha Abhiman is left completely and Murti is kept completely. The Deha Abhiman is left completely and the Murti is kept completely via Guru Krupa, via scriptures, Sadvichar, as a medium, as a madhyam. Then everything is there in one shot. That's the direct way, direct realization, one-step realization. Is it so simple? Sure. Why not? Why is it so hard? What's hard is to live with our tormented ego, and which is tormenting all of us and the world. That's hard. And then to suffer, that's hard. This is not hard. This may seem hard. Yeah, as sadhana, akhanda vritti is the most difficult sadhana. It's difficult simply because of our ego and our psychological mess that is inside our head. Otherwise, why would it be hard? Mane pragata malaya purushottama aaj ananda antara chai raho. There's a beautiful bhajan. I'll go over that again at some other point. But when we have realization of who has been obtained, that in the time of Shriji Maharaj, the Paramahansas recognized who he was, that they have got everything. The Bhagwan himself is there. Just like the Gopikas, they were connected with Sri Krishna 24 hours a day. So they're out of Maya. There's no question of Maya or any such thing, and that is because there is a mahima of what is already present. What is already present is Bhagwan himself is already present in the murti, in the gurus, in the scriptures, in our mind, in our heart. The presence of God, not just the belief in the presence of God, but the actual presence, to recognize that. So if that's the case, then what else remains? So the ignorance has to go. And so sadhana is not, one doesn't do any sadhana. Sadhana is done only for prasannata, for pleasing Paramatma. It's not done for any other reason, so it's not done to obtain the Paramatma. It's like when a person gets married, now they're not doing anything more to get married. They're already married. The marriage is done. Now they're living their life and enjoying their life, hopefully, that they're enjoying their life in communion and marriage and closeness and all that stuff that goes on. Again, that's a worldly example, maybe not the best one, but it's okay. I mean, it's all right for our purposes. That it's a marriage. Lagani lagi mane Swami Narayan namani. It's a beautiful dhun. Lagani lagi mune Swami Narayan namani. It's a beautiful. Children sing that. Everybody sings that in the sampradaya. Lagani lagi. Lagani means that marriage with the Lord, like Mirabai in Sri Krishna. She's just in love, in that extraordinary love, and so it's not that one is doing any sadhana, and that's the whole point. We have to get out of that point of doing sadhana. It's just happening. Bhakti happens, not that you're doing any bhakti. It happens, and it's continuously happening, naturally. There's no doing it. The moment we become the doer of bhakti, it will break at some point, because that is our ahankar. Doing bhakti, we do through our sense that I am doing bhakti. There's that sense that I need to do this. I want to do this. Okay, in the beginning stages, I said it before also, it's okay. But if you want to see God, get rid of that I and let bhakti be. That's it. The I am doing bhakti, get rid of the doing and get rid of the I. Just de-identify with both of them and let bhakti just be. And you immediately move into the 10th bhakti. That is the Dasmi bhakti. The 9 forms of devotion are automatically just flourishing. You don't have to do them. There's no doing bhakti. One is all ultimate, the senses and the mind and the buddhi and intelligence, they all remain in continuous vritti, continuous contemplative state, continuous connection through bhajans, through scriptures, through mantra sadhana, through Janamangal Namavali, Sarva Mangal Namavali, through the kirtans of the Paramahansas. I'm talking about Swaminarayan bhakti here. But the same thing is true with any Ishta Devata, right? So there's no disconnection. There's no disconnection. How can there be? If you are a billionaire, I've given this example before, it would be the most foolish thing to forget that you're a billionaire and start working at a minimum wage job somewhere. Can you imagine that? Someone who is a multi-billionaire forgets that and completely loses sight of it, and then considers himself, I don't have anything, I need to find a minimum wage job somewhere, and spends the rest of his or her life working a minimum wage job because of the forgetting of what is already there. And then they realize, later on, after years and years, oh my God, I was a billionaire. I didn't realize that. I forgot that. How the heck did I forgot that? So this is the whole point. All Guru Paramparas in Swaminarayan Sampradaya have said, don't forget Bhagwan. To forget God is the biggest deficiency. To remember God is the greatest prapti, but to remember God, to remember Bhagwan again and again and again as a sadhana is extremely difficult. But we don't want that difficulty. That's why Akhanda Vritti is the most difficult sadhana. Bhagwan Sarupma Mandi Akhanda Vritti Rakhvi Teti Koi Sadhan Katannati. As a sadhana, it is extremely difficult. The most difficult. But that which is most difficult becomes the most straightforward through extraordinary mahatmya, mahima, glory of who is with me, who is in my heart, who is in the murti, who is that murti, who is that human manifestation. That prapti of great sages is called prapti no mahima. Prapti means obtainment. So you've got, for example, a $200 billion check, but you have to cash that 1 year from now. You've got the check; it's under your name, so that is called prapti. But prapti no mahima. That means if I recognize what it is, realize what it is, that's great. But if Sachin is a 2-year-old kid cannot understand that, he has to wait until he grows up. It's like that. Bhagavan has come to us. Great sages have come to us. But we don't recognize who they are, what they are. And the whole process of one of the reasons for doing all these recordings and all the other material that's available from all the other sages and gurus and teachers, it's just to recognize what is there, what we have obtained. And then with that recognition, then to deposit the check. If I don't deposit that check, it's just a piece of paper. But on the day that it can be deposited, let's say a year from now, I have to make sure I hold on to it, keep it safe, make sure it's not lost and all that. But I'm in that joy of what has been obtained, but hasn't been obtained yet. It hasn't been realized yet. It's been obtained, but not realized. So realization is depositing the check. What is that depositing the check? That is dhyan. Depositing the check is saying that Paramatma that I'm trying to realize is constantly with me. So dhyan occurs without obstruction. The question of Maya disappears. That is depositing the check. The poverty deposits the instant the check is deposited into the bank. Poverty, limitations, looking at prices to buy things. You can buy almost anything if you're $200 billion. Almost you can buy just about anything you want to buy. You can go anywhere. The limitations of the material world, as long as the body is healthy and mind is healthy, have fallen away for the most part. You can do what you want, right? That's financial freedom. That's an example. Similarly, when the Paramatma is realized, the yogi just has to remember Maharaj himself has given the guarantee. Jeev Ishwar Maya Brahm Baddu Tatkal Dekhai. Garada Pratham, when we looked at that first paragraph before. So there's no question of going anywhere. Coming and going is gone, completely. You could be anywhere in the world. Just living an ordinary life is fine, but this intense connection is there. This prapti is come about, and the three avasthas are not present anymore. There's no maya left. There's no entanglement left. It is called Jnana Pralay. The Jnana Nisthiti. Maharaj has talked about all that. We're going to talk about this in much more detail in some other ways to understand it. But I'm just whatever is coming in my mind, I'm putting it here. That Jnana Pralay, start with Jnana Pralay. Start with Ekantika Sthiti. Just start with that. That's me. And whatever the mind is going in other direction, it will not go in that direction if we let go of our ahankar. That ahankar is turned over to Bhagavan, that I belong to Bhagavan. That I belongs to the Lord. I goes back into the Atma. That is the Upanishadic realization. Aham Brahmasmi. Ayam Atma Brahma, and all those Mahavakyas. That's all. That's what that is. But if we turn the direction of the I towards the Atma and Paramatma, that's all that is needed. That's all. There's nothing other than that. But that is what we don't want to do. And because we don't want to do that, that's where all of the pain, suffering, torment, problems, and the world of Maya begins to appear. We just are lost in the world of Maya. And so we're lost in the Shakti of Paramatma, not in Paramatma. That's the difference. That's why Bhagavan Krishna says in the Gita, you come to me. Look at what is the essence of the Gita, 700 verses, Bhagavad Gita. Come to me, Bhagavan Krishna is saying. You leave your vritti you do your duty, but whatever you're doing, whatever you're thinking, keep me in the center. I am what is called Ekdo, meaning the foundation. I am the basis. I am the basis of all of existence. And if you keep your attention on me, and your mind on me, Mai aveshamano emam nitya yukta upasate. Nitya bhi yuktanam yogakshema vaham viham. Right? We were looking at that verse before. We're going to get back to all that thing. Somehow I'm just doing a little bit of a review here, just for me, more than anything else. That Mai aveshamano emam nitya yukta upasate. That nitya yukta meaning continuous, unbroken, conjoined upasana. It happens in Avesha. Avesha means just like you're just running after God, like that. That is called Avesha. Maya Avesha Mano Emam. What is running after the God? Bhagavan. Not these vastas. People are running after Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moha, Matsar, Asha, Trishna, Irsha, Rag, Dvesh, Aham, Mamatva, Chal, Kapat, Mera, Tera. Kya sab bakwas baat hai sab. It has no meaning at all. And when a person realizes this, leaves all of that dualistic divisiveness completely aside, and then reaches that extraordinary vision, opens up, Yomam pashyati sarvatra sarvam cha mai pashyati tasyaham na pranashyami sachamena pranashyati. How beautiful that is, right? You've heard me say this verse before, probably in other places. This is one of my favorite verses. All verses are favorite. But this is what we're looking for. I remember in many Hindu temples seeing this verse. As I was growing up, many, many, many times you see this verse plastered all over the walls. Yomam pashyati sarvatra. That's the whole goal. See the Lord everywhere. The Lord is with us, within all, within everyone. That's our sadhana. What others? And in fact, it's not a sadhana even. It's a simple truth. Why is it so hard? There's nothing hard about it. Because we don't want to see that. That's why we're seeing all the other mess that is there, the divisiveness and the faults and the doshas and ignorance and vikshepa and all these problems there's no end to that. Because the simple solution to humanity's problems is literally this, Yomam pashyati sarvatra. That's a solution to all of humanity's problems. Just see Bhagavan in all. And if millions of people started to do that, ethics, morality, right thinking, right speech, right conduct, everything will automatically be there. There would not be any wars. There wouldn't be any problems at all, right? That's because we don't have that vision. Humanity acts out of ahankar, out of ego, out of divisiveness, mine, and this is my property, and this is my land, and this is my country, and this is your country, and then the wars and tribalism and weapons, and it put a big X mark on that. That's the pralay. When you put an X mark on all of that divisiveness, on all of the political boundaries, when you look at a map of the world, we are so stuck in the map of the world we have created with all the boundaries. Put an X on that completely. It's just one landmass, and there's water, there's ocean, and there's air. There's no division there. Vasudeva Kutumbakam. So getting rid of all that division is Gnan Pralay. Gnan Pralay is more than that, but that's the beginning. We can never get to Gnan Pralay. That means that Gnani Sthiti, that Sthiti of pure Gnan, it opens up when we can remove the political map from our mind. Even though we keep it functionally, but in our meditative awareness, when we want to connect with Bhagwan, or when we're in that Paramarthika Satyam, as Vedanta teaches us, that political map is gone. There's no question of religious divisions, or those are all foolish things, actually. How can there be a religious division? There's no division with anybody. There is no... When we are seeing the reality of Paramatma, then from that Paramarthika Satyam, there is the one without a second. That there is no question. Ekam evad dvitiyam Brahma. That is Paramarthika Satyam. You see, so if we want that, we can have that. And we still live in the relative world, but the relative world and its problems and its whatever the mess that we have created, that is not going to be disturbing us as Maya. We have to live in it in a relative way, but always live above it. Always live above it like the lotus flower. And that's by grace of Bhagavan, that he pulls the devotee out of that relative disastrous mess that is there. Look at the wars and the suffering, with what's going on in today's world. Just turn on the TV, you can see it. And it's been going on like that for generations all throughout the world in different places. Why is that? Because masses of humanity, we're nowhere near these basic ideas that are the spiritual ideas. But by the grace of Maharaj has said, you don't worry about the world will take care of itself. You do your seva. Do seva, but don't get stuck inside this world. Even the Gita is teaching us the same thing. He says, get stuck with the murti, get attached to the murti of God. Bhagavan na dham no pan lobh rakh. Sometimes he used a word like this actually in Panchala 1 or 2, in one of those Panchala Vachanamruts. He said, Bhagavan na dham no lobh rakho. Jane bhare sukhni ichha che. If you want highest happiness and all that, Keep lobha of the Paramatma. Don't worry about all these things in the world. World is going to continue. People are trying to improve the world. We cannot improve the world. Impossible. No one ever has been able to improve. Even God himself comes, he will not improve this world. He can end the world. Shiva can open his third eye and end the world, but not improve this world. Why is that? Because this world is for Jivatma to discharge their karma. Bhagwan is not going to interfere with that. You need a place to discharge your ignorance. The Jiv, meaning the Jivatma. Jivatma needs a place to discharge Agnan. Rajogun, Tamogun, Rag, Dvesh, Aham, Mamatva, all this thing, it has to be expressed somewhere. That's what this worldly experience is for, not the abode of God. The abode of God is different, but while we're living here, if we are in that meditative, contemplative state out of great mahima and leaving our ahankara aside, Bhagwan himself takes care of the devotee. Yoga kshema vaham viham. I'll take care of everything else. He has that power to reset the situations in the pure devotee's life in such a way so that the devotee can reach the Paramatma. He will reset it in his own way. That technology he has, that wisdom and intelligence and that purview is in God's hands. If in Gujarati we say, "Jo sacho bhakta thai, to Bhagwan ani paase avej." So if you become a true devotee, Sachin becomes a true devotee, then Bhagwan will remove the influence of the three gunas of Maya. Devi yesha gunamayi mama maya duratya mam eva ye prapadyante maya metam tarantite. That's it is a guarantee that is given in the Gita. It is guaranteed, but it just means to become a true devotee with saintly qualities, true bhakta. Follow any path, any tradition, but it should be a bona fide tradition. It should be a bona fide path. And most importantly, the bhav inside the heart has to be the highest bhav. It is purified emotion. It is divine emotion. Purified emotion is Shuddha Bhav. Beyond Shuddha Bhav is Divya Bhav. And in that Divya Bhav is Divya Buddhi, and Divya Bhav is divine intelligence, divine emotion. Divine intelligence and divine emotion, meaning our intelligence becomes divine intelligence, not my egotistical, ego-laden intelligence. There's a lot of Vachanamruts about this intelligence question. Kushagra Buddhi Vala. We'll get to all that in the future by the will of Bhagavan. But whatever is coming in this mind now, at this time, that is what is being spoken here. There's no planning in any of this. I have no idea what I'm going to be saying next. It's not that Sachin is not even saying anything. This is a repetition and it's a mananam from the ideas that have been understood and thought over about, and a regurgitation of them again and again and again. There's that old story I heard many years back in a village. There was only chana and chana is a type of lentil, and some millet was available, roti. And that was the only thing to eat. There was nothing else available for breakfast, lunch, dinner. So the people living in that village had to eat the same food for the whole year. Nothing was available. Eight charani rotli, eight charani dal. But you have to eat that to survive, and that's nothing else is available. Similarly, when the bhakta reaches a high stage of devotion, the ahar, the bhoga is of satsanga continuously. That is called satsang no bhoga. It's not about the vishayas. The person is incapable of enjoying the worldly object. It cannot get stuck inside that. There's a Vachanamrut, I think Garada Pratham 23 talks about this, that Indriya Antakaran Ambai Jai. I'll talk about that later on in more detail. The person the Indriyas Antakaran become incapable of running after the Vishayas, the Panch Vishayas. They are just naturally stabilized inside the Paramatma. And so the continuous rasa and bhog of the Murti of God occurs. So this unbroken dhyan automatically is there. There is such a stage. It's called Gnani Sthiti. That's the name of the title of the Vachanamrut also. It's a sthiti. Sthiti means stage of realization. State of realization. And when we reach that state of realization, there is the transcendental experiences also of the divine tej, the divine light, There's all kinds of mystical experiences that do open up. And we're going to get to all that in the future. But you talked a little bit about it before, but we'll talk about it in a very systematic way. I'm just kind of just pulling some ideas together here, just to kind of get my own thinking a little bit more harmonized around this question of dhyan. So dhyan is beautiful. Of course it's beautiful. It is the most beautiful phenomena, beautiful activity. We have so much worry, tension, fear, guilt, blame, shame, all this mess. You throw all that away. Literally throw it away. And it gets thrown away by 100% Shraddha on Bhagavan himself. That's why the Gita says, Shraddhavan labate jnanam tatparah sayate indriyah. Jnanam labdva param shanti machirinadi gacchati. Shraddha. That's the foundation. Shraddha sarvesham mata. That is the mother of all divine qualities in the Satsangi Jivan that is written. See, the quality of Shraddha, when it really opens up, then that is the beautiful relying on Paramatma. But otherwise, if we want to live in our ego space, then God says doesn't interfere with that. If you want to live in your ego space, you live in that and keep rolling around in that mud. That's what that is. And not only rolling around in the mud, it is the cause of millions of reincarnations, millions of incarnations again and again, not incarnations of God, our own rebirth, in different species, different places, the vasanas and different desires and fears and agitations and the raga and dvesha, it causes being stuck inside the Brahmand. Sometimes you go into the Svarga Loka, then come back into the Mrityu Loka, into the Patal Loka, into different yonis and different species and different cats and dogs and God knows whatever it might be, the elephants and different yonis. So we don't want any of that. One who doesn't want any of that keeps the vritti in Paramatma. Loya number 2, Vachanamrut. Janam marana bhayati vritti akhand rahe che. We'll get to that. Loya 2 or 3, one of those Vachanamrut is there. There's 4 ways the Maharaj has talked about, 4 ways to maintain the akhanda vritti. And one of them is this absolutely being terrified about getting reborn into some animal body, reborn into this cycle of this 8.4 million species. He said, we don't want any part of that. This is our last birth. Chillo janma kari levo in Gujarati, again it's said. It's possible. If you want that, we can have that. Or want other things, and Bhagwan says, okay, then go somewhere else and see what is over there. And that's the way it goes. So with that, let's stop here for now. Om Dhyanamulam Gurur Murti Mantrabulam Gurur Vakyam Pujamulam Gurur Padam Mokshamulam Gurur Kripa Om Bhagavate Shri Swami Narayanaya Namo Namaha Shri Hari Krishna Maharajaya Namaha Shri Paramahansaya Namaha Shri Swamine Namaha Om Shri Vyasa Siddhanta Bodhakaya Namo Namaha Namo Namaha Hari Om.